Happy Friday, traders. It's 8:04 a.m. Chicago time on the 30th of November, 2018. Thanks for joining me yet again. It is the end of the week. It is the end of the month. The last day of November. Goodbye, November 2018. Well, we're at the beginning of it. Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. So the morning, the overnight sentiment. Now, there's a lot in play here. Argentina's G20 comments just recently at about 7:20 Central, 8:20 Eastern. We had comments about from Trade Representative Lighthizer regarding the meeting with the Prime Minister of China, and he says that he would be surprised if the Trump-Xi meeting is not a success. So the market popped, and it's just been sitting sideways since then. So it's a little bit all over the place, as it normally would be with a news-based kind of market. But, you know, the treasuries, the U.S. bonds are up 14 ticks. 14 ticks or 0.3%. And the laggard today is crude. Crude is off 1.63%. Followed by the DAX. The DAX is down 68 points. Gold, Russell, and blah, 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 blah. And so it's, I would say risk sentiment coming in is slightly risk off, slightly to the safety side. We have pulled back just a bit across the board. The NASDAQ is really unchanged. So it's a bit of a mixed session. Now, this week has been probably pretty exhausting for this market. I mean, we've had a pretty strong run all week. In fact, since the low we put in on the 20th, it's just been running and running. We're up a little over 100 points in 1 week. Not a small feat for this product normally, but these days it just takes a couple days to do that. So that's where we stand currently. Remember, the weekly range on this product historically is somewhere between 48 and 52 points a week. So that's our sentiment as far as what we could look forward to in terms of economic releases and so on. And now remember, again, today, G20 meeting, probably all kinds of chatter. But today we're getting Chicago PMI, which is a mover. It comes out to customers, to their members at 10:42, 10:41 Eastern, and it comes out to the public at 10:45. I used to get this number early, and then I got a cease and desist letter from them. For relaying the number before it comes out at 10:45. And I was just getting it from someone else. So there you have it. Very important to them because they charge a lot for that number. So 10:45 Chicago PMI. And then other than that, we have Fed Speaker Williams talking right now. And then the G30 meeting. Draghi's expected to attend this meeting. Not scheduled to speak, but I expect that there will be a little blip and blurp all over the place today as we trade. Looking at what we expected yesterday in our review segment. Yesterday, the primary expectation is for us to drift down towards, I had this wrong. The level I had the singles at was 27.19 and a quarter. Actually, it's 17.50. That's the point where we have somewhat of a gap down here. And so with that, as long as it holds this upper distribution up here, then we are likely to test higher. Remember, I highlighted that this low was very, very weak. In other words, a lot traded at that high. So the expectation yesterday was very choppy open. I expected to drift. I expected it to drift down into 26.50 or so. Impulse up, push out of the range and start moving towards 27.54.50, which is yesterday's high. This is the stock zone from yesterday. And then a potential target, depending on where the low is, a potential extended target of 27.63. Okay? And that's basically what worked out yesterday. We ended up selling off into the close. But the key plan, chop, 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 wider swings. Remember, this is exactly what was expected. And then we start to drift down, expected 27.26. If you recall, like I just said, it pushed to 27.23. And then I was looking for an impulse higher. This thing just started to grind its way higher. Tough trade here, unless you're kind of scalping it. And it pushes to 27.54 from yesterday, right dead center of the stock zone. And then we get sellers coming back in to the mid. We pull back to the mid VWAP, and we shift the point of control, and we hold steady. And then we end up closing inside of the prior day's range. So we close, this green line here is the prior day's high. We ended up closing just 1.75 points higher. 1.75 points higher, and so it didn't make much of a gain from day to day. But we did expand our range higher. We do have a higher low and a higher high. One-time framing continues, and we have pushed into this key 27.51, 27.50 area. I'll show you how important that is. And by the way, I misspoke. It's the Chicago PMI is at 9:45 Eastern, 8:45 Central. Thanks, love and peace. And it comes out to subscribers about 3 minutes earlier. Okay, so not 10:45, but 9:45 Eastern. I think I'm just going to talk about my time zone going forward here in Chicago. To take a look at where that 27.50 comes from, we got to scroll all the way back and bring this monster profile in. And there you have it. This is the key low volume node up top, key low volume node down below. Those two are really key, right? 26.99, 2700, and 27.51.50. So we have traversed this entire thing to the other side. That was yesterday's high. And now we're moving back towards the point of control for this entire range. The most important price is marked in black right here. That price is 27.50. 27.50. Okay. So that's where that number comes from. It's really important. We pushed 27.54.50. That stock zone comes from the last time we were up here. And that's basically the summary of yesterday. As far as what we did overnight was kind of shifty. We moved around quite a bit, but the volume is lower than the prior overnight session. We drifted all throughout the Asian session. We had a bit of a lag once Europe opened, and then we started to sell off, extending this really tight balance zone down, and then we suddenly get that move this morning at 7:20 Central. 7:20 Central, and we are back inside of the overnight point of control around the VWAP around the mid, and at 27.39. So 27.39 being yesterday's point of control. So we are just really balancing. I mean, we ran up all week, and then boop, somebody slammed on the brakes, and here we are. It looks like we will have a pretty choppy day coming in, and we are likely to hold steady for today. That's the expectation given the context of what we've tested above. We've tested a major area above. We're pulling back, and we are the overnight session moved towards the key MC point of control and has bounced up, and it's holding in balance. Okay, so we've had this area right here as a multi-session balance. Yesterday's overnight, yesterday's day session, and today's overnight are all on top of each other. The market's liking these prices. So the expectation today is that we're likely to just level off. What am I expecting for today? What are the plans? So for today, I'm looking for, let's unlink this. Okay. I'm looking for, first things first, I'm looking for every Convergent member to have signed this stupid consent form that I've been talking about all week. Please take a moment, if you're a Convergent member and haven't done so, please sign this consent form. Sign it. It's at bit.ly/news upgrade. You're going to get the news service, trade the news service, $185 per month value. You're going to get that as part of your subscription going forward, starting tomorrow. And you have to sign a consent form for us to be able to make that change. And if you don't, then your subscription won't be renewed. You'll have to just go through the process of subscribing again. Get it done. Get it done. This is the last day I'm going to talk about this. Get it done. Do it. Do it. All right. So here's the expectation today. Boom. Dead on top of yesterday's point of control. Right on top of the point of control. We are opening right on top of the overnight point of control. I was talking about. We're opening in the fat area of the composite and MC and the micro composite. Just this area is probably going to give us a ton of chop. I'm looking for a test of the overnight high, which takes us into the close. I'm looking for it to cross, and I'm looking for a grind across the whole range, and I'm looking for it to break yesterday's low. Whoa, that no. Swing, 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 push up, grind up, swing down, and I'm looking for it to test yesterday's low. And then ultimately, it's the end of the month, so we'll see some weird movement at the end of the day, probably, especially with G20 coming in over the weekend. But today is expected to be a grind, and I'm expecting us to come and balance out at 27.50. All right, so that's what I'm looking for is the main trade of the day. Just grind up to yesterday's close into that 27.45 area, 27.45, 27.46. I'll be looking for a short up here and looking for this rotation down and for a push and a target down to 27.23 and then potentially down into 27.17 for a bounce back at 27.27.50. Capiche? The secondary is we do grind down. We get down into yesterday's value low area, 27.29, 27.27.50. We have an impulse back up, get back into balance, then test higher, close the yesterday's close, touch yesterday's close, and hold in the middle so we have an inside rest day. This is likely to roll over, okay? Long term, let me use a different color so I'm not confusing anybody. Long termish from here, like maybe over the next week, I'm expecting this to roll over, okay? Down into 26.92. So this is next week, probably, the way it's shaping up, the way it tested, the way it fell off yesterday, where we are, coming up into the point of control, the MC point of control from below, we've likely hit resistance. We are likely to roll over. And if we've hit resistance, the next thing the market wants to do is to advertise prices lower, and look for buyers. And that would mean prices, values likely to shift down to seek those buyers. And that's what I'm looking for next week. But for today, I'm looking to sell any pop higher for a rotation down to yesterday's low. That's the key trade of the day, the key plan. Good luck. Enjoy your weekend. Don't forget, it's Friday, which means do not act silly. Don't be stubborn. Don't be stupid today with your risk. Stick to your plan. Don't trade from your gut. And monitor your risk, okay? You don't want to go into the weekend with a really bad feeling about how you perform today. Good luck.